The Bad Batch Season 3 Episode 14 has just dropped, the penultimate episode, and it didn't disappoint. There was so much packed into it considering its shorter runtime, and I've got to say, my dear friends, they just set up a crazy finale. Incidentally, many fan theories were confirmed, and now the Batch has Emery on their side. Going into next week, Omega has a plan that is no doubt going to cause a huge distraction and could signal the end of Tantiss. Not to mention, Echo has just learned the truth about the nature of the specimens and the experiments going on. But let's begin with the start of the episode and we'll get into all of this as the episode progresses. Are you ready? Let's go. Flash Strike begins with the Batch in the shuttle which is attached to the hull of the science vessel Echo infiltrated in episode 13. They're about to come out of hyperspace. Echo is still no comms, they don't know his exact situation or how he is, but they trust he's going to find a way onto Tantiss, and the logic is they'll just have to catch up with him there. The plan is to detach from the science vessel and infiltrate on foot, because as Rampart says, the base's scanners are going to detect them on approach. But here's the thing, Scorch is already onto them, and informs Dr. Hemlock that the Bad Batch is tracking the science vessel and they had the help of former Vice Admiral Rampart. This enrages Hemlock, and I feel as though this is going to set up a very dark end for Rampart in the final episode, because later in this week's installment, he is captured by stormtroopers, and I predict Hemlock is going to punish him very severely for his betrayal. I think he can even kiss prison goodbye. That is a luxury compared to what Hemlock is about to do. I kind of think this is it for him. Hemlock dispatches fighters to shoot down the Batch's ship. The hit is successful, and so Hunter engages autopilot, and with the help of some rappel cables, they all abandon ship in what is a beautifully animated shot and continue on foot. Hemlock has troopers patrol the crash site, and as they edge nearer to the base of Mount Tantiss, Rampart takes a breather and they're forced to face a Dryax, a massive bear-like predator who first appeared in the episode Shadows of Tantiss, when Crosshair and Omega first escaped. After a scuffle, Rampart makes a run for it, but trips over, and it's game over. He is found by troopers, and there is no doubt he's going to be interrogated, and perhaps even murdered by Hemlock. But just before these events, when they were walking through the jungle, there was a very interesting interaction between Crosshair and Rampart. The former Vice Admiral insists this is not the Crosshair he remembers. Essentially, he's out of character because the Crosshair he remembers was one who followed orders. Rampart tells him he's just like him, loyal to no one but himself, but Crosshair informs him that things have changed, and Rampart doesn't like this response, but it confirms he is no longer loyal to the Empire. That being said, if he is interrogated and given an ultimatum, he's going to plead and beg to rejoin. He'll do anything to avoid death. And I've seen some speculation that there is more to this interaction. After Crosshair says he's changed, Rampart replies, "We'll see about that." What did he mean? Does he not trust Crosshair is now loyal to his brothers? Does he know more than he's letting on? Or does he think Crosshair is going to revert to abandoning them? The finale definitely has a lot of questions to answer. So all the while, Echo has disguised himself as a stormtrooper, taking the suit of the trooper he stunned when they were alerted to the fact there was a problem in the cargo hold. He is caught by a protocol droid, but he shoots it with no hesitation and steals its hand to blend in. He makes it onto Tantiss base, and while the Imperials are busy searching the science vessel, interrogating the officer and that kind of thing, Echo sneaks in. When he gets to Emery's database, he checks it and scrolls through profiles to find Omega, and that is when Emory walks in and catches him. The first thing she notices, which is the dead giveaway, is his hand. At first, she informs him that troopers aren't allowed in there, and as Echo walks away, pretending it was just a routine check, she calls him by his name. "Echo, that is your name, isn't it?" Omega told Emory so much about her brothers, so she already kind of knew how to identify Echo. Emory wasn't too surprised by the break-in, and we know she's been having doubts about what's going on Tantiss, her role in all of it, so in a way she was kind of pleased by his presence. Emory has a lot of regret for going along with Project Necromancer, but we know she didn't have a choice. Hemlock took her when she was a child, and she didn't know the full extent of the experiments. Echo reveals he is there to break out Omega, and every clone prisoner too. He reminds Emory that she too is a clone, and that she should be ashamed of herself for going along with all of this. But in an instant, Emory shows her true loyalty, and the way that Echo humanized her and showed her there is a way out made her instantly join the side of our heroes. And she tells him she's gonna help him break out Omega, the clones, and the other kids too, the specimens. This comes as an absolute shock to Echo, because just like everyone who hasn't seen the vault, he had no idea the Empire was using children. This interaction was huge, and I just want to say, I don't know if you guys have considered this, but I think of all the members of the Bad Batch to meet Emory, Echo was the best, the most appropriate. He is a manifestation of some of the horrors of experimenting, and so because they used Echo, it was a much more evocative scene. Emery is now working against her fellow scientists like the evil Dr. Scolder, and the emotion in Emery's voice when she told Echo about the children was palpable. I'm hoping the final episode gives us some more backstory to Dr. Carr, but I wouldn't count on it. It's already going to be very busy and jam-packed with action as it is. So now we come to Omega, who finally infiltrated the walls, the ones medical droids use to transport blood, and by accident, finds the key to her escape plan, the Zillo Beast. We saw it in Season 2. Just to recap, during the Clone Wars, Palpatine sought to use the Zillo Beast's indestructible hide to aid the Grand Army of the Republic. Shortly after the creature was brought to Coruscant, it broke free and rampaged through the capital. In the end, the Jedi and the Republic were left with no choice, so they killed the Zillo Beast. But afterwards, in secret, Palpatine ordered for it to be cloned. Most attempts fell through and completely failed. But after the Empire started using Kaminoan technology, and as we see in the Bad Batch, under the supervision of Hemlock, Palpatine finally succeeded, and now they're contained on Mount Tantiss. This beast can do irreparable damage, and I think it will. This is the most important aspect of how Omega is going to try to escape. I think she's going to use the beast as a distraction, possibly letting it out to wreak havoc on Tantiss. And while the Empire is busy dealing with that, she and the other children are going to find a way out. Tantiss base is going down, my friends. And this even seems to be suggested by the Kainas in a recent post. And on the subject of them, the music once again was top-notch, building suspense and more dramatic motifs in this episode. But the other members of the batch now have to fight off the rest of the stormtroopers and find their way inside. And this is going to be thanks to Crosshair, who remembers the jungle. But he's still struggling with his PTSD, and we still see his hand shaking. The question, my dear friends, is who is going to make it out of there alive? And is Echo going to call upon Rex and the other clones he helped to defect, who are dying to know the location of Tantiss? This could be Rex's final fight before he retires on Selos. And I assume by this point, Wolf has defected and joined Rex's ranks. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him next week too. And I'm still hoping, my dear friends, the final episode next week, The Cavalry Has Arrived, is a much longer episode. There is too much being set up to not at least be a double length, especially with no clear plans for how it's going to end and if this is going to lead to another spin-off. And I'm still convinced someone is going to die. Not just Rampart, but maybe one of the Bad Batch. A lovely ending would be if everyone made it out, but I don't know if that's in the cards. And another wonderful thing to see is if the children reunite with all of their families. Could the batch take them back to their homes, or maybe hand them over to Asajj or Quillen Vos, and that might connect to the Jedi path. But one of the darkest things we've seen in this show is the sadness and the fear on the faces of the kidnapped children like Sammy and Eva. But what an amazing episode. Just one to go. I'm giving this one full marks, 10 out of 10. And a huge shout out to the animators. Some of the shots of the jungle of Tantiss, the one where we see the mountain in the background, were just chef's kiss. The level of detail and attention to the facial expressions, the emotions displayed by the various characters, and the way everything is coming together. Many of us predicted the Zillo Beast, and here it is. It is at the heart of next week's final episode. Is it going to destroy Tantiss? Are we going to see the Emperor move his experiments from Tantiss to maybe Exegol or somewhere else? And is there going to be a last-ditch effort at saving it? But what did you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Did you enjoy Flash Strike? Why so, or why not? What were your highlights? And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.